What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Wiggs here with kind of a different video than just like gameplay videos that I've uploaded only to this point. What I wanted to do today is create a tier list of all Halo games, or at least the technical mainline ones, I guess you would call it. So before I get started, I kind of want to describe what makes a good Halo game, or what I'm going to use as a basis for my ratings. Basically, with campaign, it needs to be well written and cohesive with a how do I put it, this explicit beginning, middle, and end. It's not just like a gumbled pile of shit. And unfortunately, that's how a couple of them are, campaign-wise. Secondly, multiplayer. Is the sandbox good? Is the multiplayer extensive? Did it come out finished? Or did it release in a finished state? And the third part is, kind of going off the last point, what was the game like upon release, and how was it treated after the fact? So, a lot of things to get into here. But first, never played. I don't know what the fuck this is. Never played. That shouldn't exist. That's like a... Who knows? You see that like Mr. Gaddy's or something. Spartan Strike, never played. Oh, nope. Never played. Halo Wars 2, I unfortunately have not played, but I have played Halo Wars 1. But I do want to play Halo Wars 2, just never really got into it. But I guess I'll go in chronological order, meaning that I will start with Halo Wars actually. So it's a totally different game than what you're used to with the typical Halo games, as it's kind of a, I think the genre is MMORPG, but I'm not too sure exactly. But it's a good game. You know, for the genre of game that I never really play, maybe it's just Halo is the reason why I like it, but I think it's pretty well rounded. The story is really good. I love seeing basically the pre-Master Chief era and what the Covenant human dynamic was right at the start of the war. The story is, like I said, pretty good. The characters are pretty good. I love Captain Cutter's cool. Sergeant Forge, obviously. The other Spartans. But yeah, that's pretty much all that needs to be said. Good game. Not great. I hope that Halo Wars 2 was better. From what I understand, it was. But obviously, remains to be seen until I actually play it. So now with Halo Combat Evolved, it's amazing. Don't know what else needs to be said about it. I mean, for the time when it came out, it was absolutely revolutionary. Not only were the controls revolutionary in terms of being the foundation for the left and right stick, just two analog sticks being used for first-person shooters or just console gaming in general. Revolutionized that just with a simple and easy control that has been, emulated ever since it came out, really. The story is really good. It's like there's not a ton of context behind everything that happened before Combat Evolved, but it's like you don't need it. Basically, it just feels like the story is self-contained from the point it started and on. Doesn't feel like you needed anything else to understand what was going on. The game was able to not have a bunch of fluff. It just gave it to you straight, and the context was perfectly well written, and the gameplay itself was a lot of fun as well. And multiplayer-wise, I mean, there wasn't really much of a multiplayer at the time when the game was out. There wasn't Xbox Live, but, custom games with your friends, that was a lot of fun. LAN parties were fun, too. I think that, stopping or preventing Combat Evolved from going into the godly tier, or I should, you know what, I'm going to change that right now because that sounds stupid as shit. Just call it S tier. The reason that it's held back from being an S tier, even though it was a revolutionary game for the time, is the multiplayer side. It's either you use the pistol or you get shit on. That's pretty much it. There's not a lot of, I guess, viable weapons in the sandbox. Outside of power weapons, it's really just the pistol. Obviously, if you have a rocket launcher, you're going to beat a pistol. But, say, every time somebody spawned in, they would switch from their primary, which was the assault rifle, to the pistol. That is not a good thing. So, it happens in other Halo games, like I do that for the most part in Halo Infinite. It makes sense, but I don't necessarily like it for Combat Evolved when there weren't other good alternatives besides the pistol, unlike a game like Halo Infinite. But going into Halo 2, S tier. I don't know if it can be considered anything lower than S tier, even with some obvious flaws. The game was not finished when it came out. They rushed it. The development was horrible. But with that being said, they still made one of the greatest games of all time and lived up to the hype that the game had going into it. The campaign was amazing. It's the best story in the franchise. The gameplay of the campaign is a lot of fun. It's a long campaign with an incredible story. Multiplayer wise, they just capitalized off of everything that Combat Evolved did right. They increased the sandbox, made many more guns viable, even had things like the noob combo really become a thing with the plasma pistol overcharge and then shoot somebody with a precision weapon such as the battle rifle to one-shot them afterwards. It did have some major skill gap with the button combos. I personally never used them because when I played Halo 2 online, I was like 7, so it was terrible. But I think that's a good thing. Some people don't like it, but having a skill gap in a game like Halo is necessary. Maybe it's a bit quirky because a lot of people didn't know about it, but if the same things happened in a game like Halo Infinite and everybody did know about it because of social media, it would have been a totally different thing. I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing. It's a good way to separate good players from great players, which I think is necessary in modern games. They're too focused on skill-based matchmaking or just trying to satisfy the noobs. So props to Halo 2 for that. Can't really fault it for much outside of a pretty narrow campaign in terms of the scope of the levels. Not too much besides that, honestly. But yeah, moving on with Halo 3. Actually, you know what? It's Halo 3 ODST because it's technically during Halo 2. Halo 3 ODST is amazing. If it had... I'm looking at it from the standpoint of what it was intended to be. It's kind of an expansion of Halo 3, but an entirely different story. They just used the multiplayer from Halo 3, which is fine. I don't have any problems with that. I'm not going to judge the game or the multiplayer of Halo 3 ODST because it's Halo 3. You know, it's just no need to compare that. The campaign, though, is really good. Is it a little too short? Maybe, but I feel like if they tried to extend it any longer, it wouldn't have hit the same as it did when it first released. Think about the game really took place, or the story took place in one day, I believe. So it's hard to pack more into it than what they already did. The characters are really good. I love playing as the rookie. He's like a pseudo Master Chief, so I think Bungie did a really good job with making you feel like you were actually in the game. And they always did a really good job with that with Master Chief. But other characters like Buck, Romeo, Dutch, Mickey, you know, the whole ODST crew is really good. And yeah, I don't feel like there's anything else to say about it. They did introduce Firefight in ODST, which is a staple mode that needs to get back as soon as possible in Halo. It should be a staple for every single Halo game that comes out. It's a shame that 343 has pretty much abandoned it. Hopefully it comes out in Halo Infinite. There are some rumors that it is, but you know, until that point, I can't really give a Halo Infinite props for that, but voice crack. But yeah, ODST, really good game. I had tons of hours on it growing up, and it's not really nostalgia to say that ODST is a great game. But now, with Halo 3, it's S tier. And I am going to put Halo 3 above Halo 2. I think that it has a campaign that's on its level. Halo 2's campaign is a bit better. The story's a little bit better. The voice acting is a little bit better. I know that Halo 3 with Bungie, they didn't have a choice but to change some of the voice actors, but I have to give it a little bit of a downgrade in points for that. The multiplayer, though, is better, and they do have Forge that was added in as well, so that's the reason that pushes Halo 3 over Halo 2 was Forge in the multiplayer. I think that adding that was revolutionary for the time, and it's only been expanded upon by 343, so Bungie laid the foundation for it in Halo 3. Another voice crack, sorry. So they deserve a lot of props for that. But, talk about screwing up chronological order. Halo Reach should have been actually before Combat Evolved, so oops. But this is a very controversial topic. Halo Reach is my favorite Halo game of all time. Campaign's very good. Is it incredible? No, but it's really solid. The characters are very good. The atmosphere is incredible. They took Halo Reach and made the story focused on the setting, which is unique. And I think it paid off really well because it had a kind of a tone of depression and anxiety and fear, I guess is the right way to put it. It felt like every mission that you were on in the game was going to be your last. It just felt like with how the Covenant was just dominating the human race, it just felt like every level you had, it was just getting worse and worse and worse, which was the intended purpose of the game. And it worked. So, yeah, the campaign, not much else to say besides that. I loved it. Multiplayer is the best in Halo history. You can hate Armor Lock all you want. I don't give a fuck. It's incredible. The sandbox is very good. The only two things that I have to complain about is Armor Lock, and secondly, Bloom. I hate the Bloom on the DMR. And I hate how 343 has kept the Bloom. I think it was really dumb to introduce that. It made it feel like it was trying to appeal to modern shooters like Call of Duty. But, was it such a terrible thing that was a deal breaker? No. It was more so of an increased, not necessarily skill gap, but understanding or need to understand how the gun worked. So, as time has gone on, I've kind of just put it to the side. I don't really care about it. I think it's dumb, but it is what it is. Forge was increased, or not perfected, but really enhanced in Halo Reach compared to Halo 3. The file share from Halo 3 was also enhanced in Halo Reach. I mean, Infection in Halo Reach was the best it ever was. I have so many hours playing Infection and Halo Reach. So many really good memories. Playing custom games with random people that I didn't know that lived across the country in Forge. Forge created maps that were on file share at launch. 343 doesn't know anything about that, but multiplayer was really good. There was Invasion that was created in that mode, which is kind of like a different version of Big Team Battle. Just, yeah, everything was really good in Halo Reach. I have incredible memories from it. I don't even, it's partially nostalgia, but I grew up with all the other Halo games too, and I have plenty of nostalgia for them. So I don't think that it's nostalgia-based for me to say that Halo Reach is my favorite Halo game. Obviously, a lot of people aren't going to agree with me on that, but it's just my opinion. Anyways, moving on. I guess I'll do the Master Chief Collection now. And it's a very hard game to rank because if they never fixed it, it would be in garbage. It would have been the worst Halo game of all time, and it would have been one of the worst AAA titles in video game history because of its launch. And how many disappointments that 343 gave us in that game. It was fucking terrible. For years. I got the game, I bought an Xbox One with the bundle for the Master Chief Collection, and I couldn't play the multiplayer on MCC for like 4 years. That was half the life cycle of the Xbox One. It was ridiculous. I remember I got to play one game after it took 2.5 days for the fucking game to download. Play one game, and then I couldn't find a match for years. It was really disappointing. But now, it's in a great state. The UI has been improved tremendously. The connection has been improved tremendously. The multiplayers and how they're organized has been perfected. The campaigns are exactly how you remember them when you first played them. And they added ODST and Reach, which is really nice. So I think 343 has done a lot of good things to fix the game and make it better than what it was even intended to be in the first place. But I can't overlook the years of trash that we had to go through with the game. So for that reason, it's good. If, like I said, if they didn't fix the game, it would be in garbage, without a doubt. But 343 does deserve props for not abandoning the game and making it what it is today. So now, let's move on to Halo 4, which was a very polarizing game at the time. A lot of Bungie fans didn't like it because it didn't feel like Halo. It felt more like Call of Duty, which I agree with, but I still liked it. The campaign was good. It was a little too short. It was a little too corny. And I didn't like I don't know how to put it, the romance between Master Chief and Cortana. It felt too forced. Obviously, they had a great connection, but I never saw it as romantic. It's a fucking human and a robot. I don't know how that can be romantic. They had more of like a brother-sister relationship, I felt like. So, it was a bit odd. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't even like a romance. It was just implied. I don't know. This is a good game. The campaign was pretty good. I thought the Didact was treated poorly. The final boss fight with him wasn't even a boss fight. You just press a couple buttons. So that was disappointing. And the game felt like you had to know or read a ton of books outside of the main game just to have an understanding of what was going on. Like the cutscene with the librarian that's 7 fucking minutes long. It's just spewing exposition at you. I don't care about it. Why should I have to sit there and listen to this person that I have no idea about or I've never seen before talk for 7 minutes about Halo's history? It's the worst way they could have done it. I don't like how it was treated, but outside of that, the game's pretty good. The multiplayer, I liked it. I know it fell off a cliff after like a month, but the gameplay's fun. The sandbox is nice. The added armor abilities are cool. You know, the added sprint, oh well. Sprint is kind of necessary in Halo, in my opinion. Not super overpowered, but it's necessary. Unless you have very quick movement without sprint. But, you know, whatever. Yeah, that's pretty much all that needs to be said about Halo 4. It's good. It's not amazing. There are a lot of flaws with the game, but it's good. And Halo 5. Oh my god, Halo 5. If this was campaign alone, it might even be lower than the MCC. And that game launched horribly. Halo 5 launched without Forge and didn't have it for a couple months. The game launched unfinished. And they did a lot to make it so much better over time multiplayer-wise, which I'm happy about. But 343 has to stop releasing unfinished games. It's so annoying. And it's always been the case with them. Every single game they've released has always been unfinished. But Halo 5, specifically, was the first time that it was, you know, really bad, I guess. MCC is a totally different story. That game wasn't even, like, anywhere remotely complete. Halo 5 just launched, and they used the launch date, and then just were like, hey, we're going to have updates every month going forward, meaning the game is not finished. They were just finishing it as time went on and released it to get the money when they could. Scummy business practices, but what else do you expect? Anyways, the campaign is complete and utter dog shit. It's a shame how they handled it. The only good thing about it is that the Arbiter was in it. Pretty much it. And he wasn't even there very long, and he didn't even do that much. But his mere presence and hearing Keith David again was all you needed for it. There were some cool moments in the game, but it was awful. The campaign was awful. And nothing will ever change my mind on that. The multiplayer, on the other hand, is fun, but way too sweaty, too reliant upon skill-based matchmaking, and it just shows that 343 doesn't understand what Halo multiplayer should be like. It should be a casual experience. I shouldn't have to go into the game wanting to sweat my ass off just to get a win. It's so dumb how they treat their casual players or playlists in general. The skill-based matchmaking was too strict. The gameplay was too sweaty. There were too many rec packs and weapon variants in Warzone, even though Warzone was really good. I'm glad they had it as a mode. Did it get a little too oversaturated and pay to win? Yes. But was it still fun? Yes, it was. The movement, the advanced movement, it's kind of jarring. I don't hate it, but I don't like it. It was kind of just there. It was an increased skill gap, but I don't think it was a necessary skill gap to have. It just added to the sweatiness of the game. And it made it harder just to aim. or just traverse through the map like you would in a normal Halo game. But even with all those flaws in the multiplayer, I still enjoy the multiplayer. But it's not enough to overcome the campaign. So Halo 5 is meh. Forgettable. Very forgettable game. And I wish I liked it a lot more than I did. So, last but not least is the current Halo game that everybody's playing, Halo Infinite. Another game by 343 that released in a completely unfinished state. I think when the game came out, there were 4 game modes in multiplayer. That's unacceptable, inexcusable, and it's just not right to charge. Well, I guess the multiplayer is free to play, so I can't say that, but they also did have cosmetics for a fucking color of armor. They charge you for it. And I remember when they were advertising the game saying there were going to be millions of combinations for armor, and now there are armor cores to where you can't cross-core customize your armor. It's basically like if you have an armor set, you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. Which is really dumb. It took away from the customization, and then they charge you for the fucking color green. It's just very scummy business practices, but that's what you expect in a free-to-play game. So it is what it is. The campaign was pretty good. I think that it was too low stakes and narrow in its position, but the characters around Master Chief are really good. The gameplay is really good. The campaign's long. It's open world, which is a nice change of pace. I like it. I think the open world was handled pretty well. Could they have changed the environments or made more and better fleshed out side quests? Yeah, they could. But it's their first attempt at an open world game, and I think they did a pretty good job at it. Multiplayer, the gameplay is the best in the series. I think that they have perfected, multiplayer-wise, what they wanted to do when they took on the IP and what Bungie did when they held the reins. It's like a happy medium between the two. The only thing that was lacking in multiplayer was the content, and it's still, to some extent, lacking. But 343 has picked up the pace, they're making up ground, but it's not, it's not good enough to overcome what they started with. I mean, the game had all the hype in the world when it came out. It had about 300,000 players on Steam alone. That's just PC, that's not even Xbox, playing the game at one time. And now it's less than 10,000. It's fucking Halo. It's just sad to see what the franchise has become. Is it gaining more traction? Yes, but that's going to go away when games, it already has started to go away since Starfield came out, but think about Call of Duty again. There's a lot of hype around Modern Warfare 3. It's just not going to be the same compared to when the game first came out, and they really could have capitalized on all the hype. It's unfortunate, but the game is good. And you know what? I will kind of flip this around. I am going to make Infinite the top of good. Yeah, that looks about right. Yep. So that's my tier list for Halo. Let me know if you guys disagree in any way. I would love to hear your feedback and your comments. So, yeah, until next time, have a good one.